Welcome back to Try Your Hand. Today we'll be making a Winter Wonderland terrarium. Let's get started with the supplies. These are the things that'll be in your kit. So you'll have a mason jar, 2 large foam balls, a medium foam ball and a small foam ball. You'll have a pointed brush and a square brush, a small knitted hat, a small knitted scarf, black paint, white paint, a floral foam block, some Mod Podge, some acorns, some cotton balls, a few little sticks, some false snow, a few trees of different sizes, a couple of buttons, some wire, and a small carrot. These are the things that you'll need to provide yourself: a glue gun, a craft knife, some tweezers, and some wire cutters. So the first thing that we're going to do is to carve the little hill out of our foam block that we have. So we'll take our craft knife and that floral block, and we're going to figure out where we're going to start carving. So I decided to keep the flat base of my block, so that means that that jagged edge is going to be the end that I'm going to carve. So first you want to do is you want to make sure that you're how much you'll have to carve off so that it fits into your jar. So I'm just cutting off some of the edges here with my knife and then rounding out the edges and the corners so that it fits in my jar. This is what the completed carved block will look like when I'm done. So I carved off the edges, made it a little bit more rounder, and then I'm making sure that it fits inside of my jar, which it does. And then we can start on the painting of the block. So for the painting, I'm going to take my white paint with my larger brush and I'm going to paint my block. This is a floral block, which is meant to be used with water, so it absorbs a lot of the paint. So you will have to take you will have to work quickly in order to be able to spread the paint around, or else the block will absorb the liquid in the paint. And you want to make sure that you cover the entire block itself. Once you have finished with your first coat, you want to let that dry and then do a second coat of the paint. It's kind of hard to see here, but in person you can really see once it dries that you can still see a little bit of the green coming through, which is why you need that second coat. So this is what 2 coats of the white paint will look like, and that's what it looks like compared to just 1 coat of paint. Now that we've let the paint fully dry, we can start gluing our false snow onto our little hill here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take my Mod Podge and my larger brush, and I'm going to then paint that Mod Podge all over my hill. So this is why you kind of want it to be dry before you glue this on, is that you want the glue to kind of stay on the hill and not absorb into the block, and the paint kind of works as a shell over the block to help not absorb the Mod Podge. So once I'm done with that, I'll want to take a small piece of paper like I have here, so that I can reuse the snow for my other little bits that I'm going to be using it for. So once I have fully painted on my glue, I'm going to then start to sprinkle the snow onto my hill. So I'm just going to take a little bit of snow, sprinkle it on top, move my hill, sprinkle some more on, until I get the whole thing covered. Once I've gotten the whole thing covered, I'm going to just kind of lightly tap my hill to make sure that I have any excess snow off of it, and then I'm going to set it off to the side to dry. So now that I'm done using the snow, any leftover I'm just gonna put right back into the little container that I have for the snow. That's what the paper is useful. It's to help, pour the snow back where it belongs. So now let's get started with the snowman. So for the large snowman, we are going to be using the 2 large foam balls. They are the same size, which means that you're going to have to carve one of them to be smaller so that it could be the head. So we're just going to take one of the foam balls, and then we're going to take one of our craft knife, and we're going to just start to take off sections of the foam off of it in an even manner all the way around the ball. And we're just going to continue doing that and until it gets small enough where it looks like it can be like the head of the snowman. As I was carving, I would just measure it up against the bottom part of the snowman to see how it would look. And I would just carve until I liked the way that it looked, and then we can set that off to the side. So one of the things that I did when I was done carving was that I painted the foam ball that I carved white. You do not have to do that, but I like the way that it looked. It gave it more of a warmer tone to it. If you don't want to paint it, that's perfectly fine too, and then you can just start to paint the face of the snowman onto your carved ball. So to paint the face of my snowman, I just took some black paint and then put on a couple of eyeballs, and then from there I made the little dots to make the smile. For the small snowman, I took the smallest ball, and again I painted the face onto that, and then on that medium-sized ball, I just put 2 vertical dots on the body to make buttons. So from there, what you'll want to do is set them off to the side to completely dry, and then we can get started on the next step of making these snowmen. So now we're going to put these the fake snow onto our snowmen. So in order to help with this, because of the roundness of the snowman parts, I took a bit of that wire and I stuck each of these snowman bodies and heads onto the little pieces of wire that I have, and then stuck them into the spare foam block that I had. This will just help me hold the different parts as I'm putting glue on them, and then putting the snow on them as well. In order to put the snow onto our snowman parts, I took some glue and I put it all over each of the snowman parts. When you get to the face of the snowman, just be sure that the face paint is completely dry, otherwise it will smear. So if it's not fully dry, just be very careful around the face. You will want to put a scrap piece of paper down to catch all of your excess snow. So we're going to do it exactly how we did the hill where we took our snowman part. We're just going to sprinkle some snowflakes all over the body or the head of the snowman until it's fully covered in the snowflakes. And then we're going to set those off to the side, and we're going to do that to all of the snowmen. So now it's time to glue all of our snowmen together. So right now I'm just showing you how I'm gluing the bigger snowman. So I just kind of put some glue down and then stuck the head of my snowman down onto the body, and then I just held until the glue dried. You will be doing the same thing with the smaller snowman. So once we're done gluing the bodies together, we are then going to be gluing all the accessories onto our large snowman. So the first thing that I'm going to show you how to do is to glue the hat. So I just turned the hat inside out and then put a little bit of glue onto the very end of my hat here, and then gluing that onto my snowman a little bit farther back on his head. And then I held that until that hardened, and then I rolled the hat down the snowman's head until it fit kind of snugly. I then kind of adjusted the hat to make it look nice. If you feel as if it needs a little bit more glue to stay on, you can glue like on the back of the head, and that should keep the hat on pretty well. So the next thing to glue on is the nose. The little tiny carrot that you have there is a little bit small, or a little bit big, I mean. And so I just cut off a little bit of the carrot nose off. I measured it on my snowman here to make sure I like the size of it, and then I glued that down. So just put a little bit of glue on the carrot and then stuck it onto the face of my snowman. I did the same thing with the buttons, where I just glued the buttons down onto the body where I thought it looked nice. And then we will get to the scarf. So once I'm done gluing all the other little knickknacks onto my snowman, the next thing to do is to glue on the scarf. So with the scarf, I kind of just put it around my snowman's neck and adjusted it so that it looked the way I wanted it to look. The scarf was a little bit long, so I did cut off some excess, and then I glued, with the hot glue gun, I glued the end so that it wouldn't fray. So once I got the scarf to lay the way that I wanted it to lay, I just put a little bit of glue down to secure the hat. So I put a little bit behind his neck, and I also put a little bit of glue where the scarf crossed in the front. So I just put some, like on the snowman, I put one side of the scarf down, and then I put a little bit more glue on top of that, and then put the other side of the scarf down as well. So now we're going to set up our jar. So in order to set up the jar, I took my little cotton balls that I have, and then I took some Mod Podge with my large brush, and I brushed some Mod Podge onto my cotton balls, and then stuck them inside of my jar. So I stuck them towards the edges of the bottom of my jar, just to kind of fill out those sections that my little foam block will not be covering. It also makes it look like there's these, nice little snow drifts there as well. So I used my tweezers in order to be able to put these cotton balls in the jar, because my hand did not fit in the opening of the jar. And so that's helpful when you're putting in all your little knickknacks and things into your jar and placing them in the exact area that you want to place it. So I just did this. I just glued these cotton balls down all the way around the perimeter of this jar. So now I'm going to glue down the foam hill that I have. So I just kind of put it in there first to make sure that it was looking the way that I wanted it to look, and when I decided that it was, I then took out my little hill out again and then put some hot glue in the bottom of this hill and then put it back inside of my jar carefully, and then I held it down to make sure that the hot glue was adhering to both the block and also the very bottom of my glass jar. Now that the base is done for my Winter Wonderland, it's time to now actually set the scene. So I took all of my little knickknacks and my snowmen and started to kind of experiment with placement. So I kind of just put my snowman in first to see where I liked him before I glued anything down. When I kind of figured that out, I started putting my little logs and also the pine cones down at the very edges of my scene here. So I put those kind of where like the cotton balls are, and I placed them down. Some of those things didn't really need to be glued. So for example, I was able to wedge the sticks down pretty well without having to glue them down. But then there were some of the pine cones I did need to glue down. So I would just place those down, see if I could kind of wedge them, and if I couldn't, I would just take them out, put a little bit of glue on it, and then kind of place it back where I wanted it placed. So that's kind of what I did with the pine cones and the sticks, is just kind of put them at the very edges of my scene. So once that's done, I then glued my snowman down and my tree. So I just put a little bit of glue down on the very bottom of my snowman and then stuck him where I wanted him in my terrarium. And then I did the same thing with the trees. So for the trees themselves, you can take that little like cork bottom off. So you can either twist it off, or if you're having trouble with that, I took the wire cutters and just kind of cut that little piece off. And then I was able to kind of stick them in the foam where I wanted them. You can also put some glue down as well, just for extra security. But because of the thickness of the wire on the bottom of those trees, you kind of don't need to. So once I glued all those down, I am pretty much done. The only thing left to do is to put in the lights. So by this point, I kind of ran out of the LED lights that we gave you in the kit. So we're just gonna have to make do. What I'm showing you here is just where you would glue down the battery pack for those LED lights. And then from there, you can just shove the lights into your jar, place them how you want them to make them look nice, and then you're done. You can just kind of twist the top onto your jar, and then the battery pack is then hidden away at on the lid of the jar. And so that is now your finished Winter Wonderland. So I hope you guys had fun making this project. Our next project is going to be these embroidered pendants that we're going to be making. If you're interested in that project, you can sign up on our calendar. The link for that will be in the description down below. Also, we would love to see your Winter Wonderland terrariums, so you can send us a picture through our email, or you can tag us on social media. So we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, so you can, all of those links will be down in the description for you to access. All right. Thank you for crafting with us. Bye.